Welcome to the Earth Feels podcast.
I'm Rose.
And I'm Christine.
Welcome to Earth Feels, the podcast for people feeling overwhelmed by the endlessly gloomy climate news.
Where every week we have soul-based conversations about climate change and explore the idea that climate change may be happening for us as much as it is happening to us.
If you are ready to shift your focus and secure the future for our kids and our grandkids, then this is the podcast for you.
And yes, we do know how to spell.
Hello, it's Rose here. This week's question: can remembering our interconnection with Mother Nature help us to heal the planet? This week I'd like to begin a little differently by asking you to close your eyes for a few minutes. Not if you're driving, but listen to this when you're not driving. Close your eyes for a few minutes. Take a deep breath and relax into your body. Travel back with me to a time in your childhood, to a moment where you felt a sense of wonder for the natural world. And for each of us, it will undoubtedly be something different. It may have been spending vacations at your grandpa's farm, someplace rural where the smell of fresh mown grass assaulted your senses. It may have been your first puppy or your first kitten, and the days you spent playing and tending and loving that little life. And as you held its warm body, you felt its heartbeat in your hands. Or perhaps you had an ant farm or a bug box where you were fascinated by the creepy crawlies inside, living their daily lives. There was an entire universe happening in miniature that perhaps you saw for the first time ever. Or maybe it was one specific summer evening that you watched incredulously as fireflies lit up the darkness. Maybe you tried to catch them in glass mason jars. But in that moment, you knew beyond a doubt that life was magical. Perhaps it was in your own backyard, where sunflowers grew taller than you, and your dad's homegrown tomatoes tasted like sunshine. Maybe it was swimming the river or the nearby pond with your siblings, the cold, clean water refreshing your brown, sun-kissed skin. Or pumping pure drinking water from the backyard well, thirst-quenching and clean. Maybe it was snowball fights in the neighborhood, where the physical exertion and freezing air left you breathless, and yet you felt so alive. It could be climbing trees in the pine forest near your home, or standing still in a rainstorm, catching raindrops in your mouth. Maybe it was the smell of the rainstorm coming. Maybe it was lying on your back, watching clouds float by and naming their shapes. Or simply waking to birdsong. Are you there? Breathe into that moment, that aliveness. Remember that sweet feeling, knowing you are a small part of something bigger. Feel your interconnectedness with all of life, with nature, with all living things. sit with that knowing, that amazement, that joy. Feel the lightness that brings into your heart space. The smile that comes effortlessly to your lips. Breathe that wonder into every cell, into your entire being. Remember, memorize that uncomplicated joy. When you're ready to leave that simpler time, I invite you to open your eyes and come back to the present. So if we are lucky enough, there are many instances in our childhood when nature spoke to us directly, offering us breathtaking moments of connection to beauty, to the natural world. And our open-minded inner child, accepted her communications without question. It was just part of life. It's my belief that those almost tactile memories, when time stood still, left an imprint that we carry with us as adults. And I'm left wondering if those imprints can spur us into action now, when Mother Earth needs us most. Because it's my belief that Mother continues to speak to us, but somehow in our adult brains, in our adult lives, we've lost our ability to hear her. Certainly the wildfires in California and Australia over the past year are a sign of impending disasters yet to come. A warning. Historic flooding in Asia, and closer to home, recent floods in Houston and Kentucky, and this week in Hawaii. The disappearance of glaciers in Iceland. The extinction of thousands of species. The disappearance of bees. Earthquakes at fracking sites. The slowdown of the Gulf Stream. If we are willing to sit and listen to the signals Mother Earth is sending us, she's showing us the ways in which the old consumption model must change. And in the way of all good mothers, she's guiding us toward a new future where success is determined by our interconnectedness to her, to each other, and to all her sentient beings. She is energizing us to be creative in our solutions to the dilemma of this existential crisis, to the dilemma that we have caused. And she's showing us, she's asking us to be creative. She's speaking to us directly and urgently. The question remains, can we, will we open our hearts and listen? So, our good news for the week, Michael Reagan becomes the new EPA chief. Mr. Reagan's a 44-year-old black man. He's got some impressive history behind him and is probably the person to clean up or to turn around the beleaguered EPA and the mess that was left behind by the last administration. Good things. We wish Michael the best. We need him on our side. An action step for this week, revisit the time that you knew your interconnectedness. Listen Listen deeply to what's being said. Hear the direction that you're being asked to take next. And the sanity tip, know that you're never alone. Know that you're never alone. You're being guided. We're all being guided, if only we can remember. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time. That's this week's episode of Earth Feels. Special thanks to singer-songwriter Kristen Hoffman for generously allowing us to use Song for the Ocean. Thanks for listening.
Don't forget, subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss an episode. Catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Children of the earth, I'm calling out. There's a mission for you and for